History rarely erases things completely. More often, it reduces them. A paragraph becomes a sentence becomes a footnote disappears altogether. This case follows that pattern. There is no official account announcing what was lost, no decisive event marking its end. Instead, there are fragments, architectural decisions that don't align with modern explanations, photographs archived without context, geographic names that appear confidently on maps for centuries and then quietly vanish. None of this is hidden, it simply isn't connected. The investigation begins with something measurable: scale. Across Europe, North America, and parts of Asia, buildings constructed in the 18th and 19th centuries exhibit proportions that exceed practical human requirements. Doorways reaching 12 to 15 feet in height, staircases with unusually tall risers, ceilings elevated far beyond structural necessity. These features are often attributed to aesthetic grandeur or symbolic authority. That explanation works until the locations are examined more closely. Many of these oversized elements are not found at ceremonial entrances or public halls, but deep inside working buildings, administrative corridors, offices, government facilities, spaces designed for daily function, not intimidation or display. When design choices repeatedly increase cost, complexity, and material usage without providing functional benefit, they raise a reasonable question. Who were these spaces designed to accommodate? That question becomes harder to dismiss when visual records are introduced. From the mid to late 19th century, a body of photographic evidence exists depicting individuals of exceptional height, frequently estimated between 8 and 10 feet tall. These images appear in formats typical of the era. The subjects are presented formally, wearing standard period clothing. Some stand alone. Others appear beside family members or associates of average height. The photographs show consistent lighting, natural shadows, and uniform grain structure consistent with contemporary photographic processes. These images are not presented as novelties. They are not labeled as exhibitions or spectacles. There are no promotional captions. They depict individuals posed as ordinary members of society. Their presence is acknowledged briefly within institutional archives, British, French, Russian, then categorized as medical anomalies and left unexplored. What stands out is not their rarity, but their timing. These photographs cluster heavily between approximately 1850 and 1900. After that period, they largely disappear. The pattern becomes more pronounced when the architectural context of these photographs is considered. Many of the individuals are photographed in front of large civic buildings, courthouses, administrative halls, government complexes. When their height is accounted for, the oversized architectural features suddenly appear proportionate. Doorways no longer seem excessive. Staircases no longer appear impractical. The scale aligns. This correlation shifts the focus back to the buildings themselves. Across multiple continents, government and administrative structures from the same historical period exhibit remarkably consistent proportions. These buildings were expensive to construct, engineered with precision and intended for long-term institutional use. Yet their dimensions repeatedly exceed human ergonomic needs. The explanation offered, that they were designed solely for symbolic grandeur, becomes less convincing when the same design choices appear in back hallways, internal offices, and functional spaces where symbolism offers no advantage. This brings us to a geographic detail that is often mentioned but rarely examined closely: Tartaria. From the 17th through the early 19th centuries, Tartaria appears on European maps as a clearly labeled region spanning large portions of northern and central Asia. It is not presented as speculative or legendary. It appears in atlases and encyclopedias alongside established nations, referenced with little explanation, suggesting it required none. Then, during the mid-19th century, the term disappears. Not through conquest, not through renaming, simply through omission. Maps are redrawn, encyclopedias revised. The region is subdivided and absorbed into other classifications without a clearly documented transition. What remains are the physical structures attributed to various empires, massive stone buildings of impressive scale, often lacking detailed construction records or definitive attribution. The timing is notable. The disappearance of Tartaria from cartographic records closely aligns with the period when photographic documentation of unusually tall individuals ceases. The documentary record presents a similar pattern. Throughout the late 19th century, mainstream newspapers across the United States reported discoveries of unusually large human skeletons. These reports appeared in publications such as the New York Times, the San Diego Union, and regional newspapers across the Midwest. The remains were frequently described as measuring between 7 and 12 feet in length and were often uncovered during railroad construction, excavation projects, or archaeological work. Some reports mention organized burial sites and accompanying artifacts. These articles were not treated as sensational or controversial at the time. They were reported as factual discoveries. Then, in the early 20th century, the reports abruptly stop. Many of the remains were reportedly transferred to institutional collections, including the Smithsonian Institution. Today, those institutions state that no such skeletons exist in their archives. Records are incomplete, missing, or undocumented. What is notable is not the absence of a single specimen, but the consistency of disappearance across many cases. Additional artifacts complicate the picture further. Oversized furniture, chairs, desks, benches appears in estate auctions and museum storage rooms. These items are not ceremonial thrones or symbolic pieces. They are utilitarian objects designed for regular use, yet scaled beyond standard human dimensions. Similarly, large tools, wrenches, and implements measuring several feet in length have been recovered from demolition sites and old workshops. These tools show wear patterns consistent with sustained use, not decorative display. They are typically categorized as industrial curiosities, without explanation as to what process required such scale or who was meant to operate them. Individually, each of these findings can be dismissed. Together, they form a pattern. Photographs, architecture, cartography, newspaper accounts, and physical artifacts all cluster within the same historical window, and all fade from record at approximately the same time. This does not confirm the existence of a forgotten civilization or a distinct human subspecies. It does, however, challenge the completeness of the historical narrative we currently accept. History is shaped not only by what is recorded, but by what is no longer examined. The buildings remain in use, the proportions remain unchanged, the photographs still exist, archived and largely unaddressed. The question is not whether extraordinary individuals once existed. The question is why inquiry consistently ends at classification rather than investigation. If history is meant to explain how societies functioned, then unexplained patterns deserve attention rather than dismissal. Because when unrelated anomalies align across geography, time, and material evidence, they stop being anomalies. They become unanswered questions. And history, when left unquestioned, is not preserved. It is inherited. If you value historical inquiry that examines evidence rather than assumptions, continue exploring these gaps. The past rarely disappears. It simply waits.